All right, welcome everybody to the hormone imbalance, endocrine disruptors, and natural solutions webinar. Today, I'm going to be covering a lot of different topics, but what I'm really going to be focusing on is the root cause of hormone imbalance. And it's not like, 1 out of 9 people have problems with their hormones. It's 100% of the people out there have problems with their hormones. I mean, we have a massive, debilitating situation worldwide that is being caused by different types of endocrine disrupting chemicals and some of the things we're going to get into today that are altering your hormones in your body, and it's causing damage, and it's causing all different other issues, and it's causing infertility, it's causing sterility. So what I want to do today is let you know that in order to balance your hormones naturally, you first have to understand what's causing the hormones to become imbalanced. So I'm going to go over a lot of different things today, and hopefully by the end I'm going to give you solutions as to what you need to do so your body's self-healing mechanism can kick in and you can balance your hormones naturally again. So if you're feeling fatigued, run down, depressed, if you have excessive weight gain, most likely it's going to be your hormones, because your hormones can be imbalanced naturally by your age, your diet, your lifestyle, harmful chemicals, metals, and really one of the big kickers is stress. I mean, we live in a society today where everybody's stressed out all the time. So we all need hormonal balance so we can experience good health. Now, health isn't just the absence of problems. Health is a focused mind, healthy habits in your lifestyle, a healthy environment, calm nerves, balanced systems within your body. It means that you're at your best, you're confident, you feel good, you're mentally, emotionally, and spiritually aligned. And that ultimately allows us to create and to be healthy and resist any type of illness or disease that might come our way. So what are hormones, basically? And I'm not going to get into all the technical aspects of hormones and everything, because it doesn't really matter. All you need to know is how to balance your hormones naturally anyway. If you want to get into the technicality of how the hormones work together in unison and stuff like that, that's fine. You can do that on your own. But in general, hormones are just chemical messengers in your body which allow the different systems and glands in your body to communicate with each other properly. And hormones are part of the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is composed of your pineal gland, or what they call the third eye, which gets damaged and calcified by all the fluoride in the water, your hypothalamus, your pituitary, your adrenal glands, the thyroid, the parathyroid, the thymus, the pancreas, and the gastrointestinal tract, as well as the ovaries and the testes. One thing people don't really understand a lot is how important the gastrointestinal tract is at regulating the endocrine system. I mean, all those glands together make up the endocrine system. Now, these glands produce the hormones that regulate growth and development, reproduction, fertility, infertility, weight, that's why we have, problems with obesity, regulate your moods, and the list goes on and on. I mean, many other things. Now, men and women have the same hormones, just in different ratios. Women obviously have more estrogen and less testosterone, and vice versa. And of course, we all have adrenal hormones, thyroid hormones, and so on. When your hormones are balanced, your body is humming along just perfectly. You should feel good. You should feel full of energy. But when they're not, you have problems. And that's what affects your whole body systems, your mood, and everything else. So hormone imbalance is literally, for women, it basically means that estrogen and progesterone are out of balance, and most likely it's going to be high estrogen and not enough progesterone. And that's pretty well known as estrogen dominance. For men, you know, they're full of testosterone, but their testosterone, their DHEA levels, their growth hormone levels, as they age, they start to decline. And there's a term for that called andropause. And one of the reasons now is that men as well as women are taking in too much estrogen. And, you know, they can experience the same symptoms as women can, and many other symptoms, including sterility, with estrogen dominance. So we are seeing right now in the current times, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse over the years, a estrogen dominance that doesn't happen naturally. It happens as a result of industrial pollutants and chemicals and a lot of the stuff that you have around your house probably that you don't even realize that's coming into your body. Now, there's a ton of environmental toxins that can really amplify estrogen dominance anyway. So, you know, a lot of people don't know that they have hormonal issues, but, you know, we could list about 100, 200 different symptoms. And for just this webinar today, I mean, I'll just go through a few of them. I mean, number one, skin problems. If you have acne, if you have blotchiness in your skin, premature wrinkling, that would be a sign of hormone deficiency or imbalance. If you have hair loss, you know, I talk to a lot of women all the time, and they you know, every time, especially women with long hair, and every time they take a shower, they have clumps of hair coming out. You know, that's a telltale sign that your hormones are imbalanced. Or unwanted hair growth. You know, it could be either way. You could be losing your hair, or you could have unwanted hair growth somewhere else. Another thing, obviously, is weight gain, especially around the belly area, the thighs, the buttocks. It's a big problem. And the sad thing about all this is it's affecting our children now just as much as it is in adults. I mean, girls are, you know, going through puberty at young ages, and men are becoming feminine because of the estrogen. So that's also a big issue. But another big symptom is lack of energy. Also diminished libido, sex drive, sleep disturbances, especially if you're having hot flashes, night sweats. These can lead to insomnia. Memory problems. People are on so many stimulants. They're on psychotropic drugs that affect their sleep cycles. So it's really something to look at if you're having problems with your sleep. Because if you're having problems sleeping, most likely you're not going to be in the best mood every single day. So and hormones and mental health are very closely related. I mean, we've got an antidepressant epidemic, and not only in this country, but especially throughout Europe. We have so many antidepressants in the water system that even in some countries, drinking a gallon of water is the equivalent of you taking one pill of an antidepressant. So the problem is most doctors believe that women and men are depressed and they need antidepressants, but it's the completely wrong approach. 9 times out of 10, it's not depression, it's something wrong with the hormones. And again, standard medicine doesn't address the root cause of the problem, they just address the symptoms of the problem and put a Band-Aid over it. So it's really not depression, it's just a hormone imbalance or a chemical imbalance inside your system. Most people that we've worked with, most people that just clean their body on a regular basis, they balance their hormones, and then the anxiety and the mood swings and the depression and the mental cloudiness and the brain fog and everything just mysteriously go away. But it doesn't mysteriously go away. It's the fact that you're actually doing something to balance out your hormones. So one of the things that we have a really big problem with today, and this subject of hormones really comes close to my heart, because spending years and years tracking down these endocrine disruptors, basically what we're going to start off with is we're going to talk about endocrine disruptors. And endocrine disruptors are chemicals, most of them man-made, that some of them can occur naturally, that interfere with hormones And endocrine disruptors can reduce the production of hormones by the endocrine glands. They can influence when, how much, and if the endocrine glands release hormones. They can affect the organ or the tissue that the hormones are trying to communicate with. They might speed up the metabolism of hormones, may reduce the action. One thing, though, that's really bad is that they can block or mimic hormones, and that's especially estrogen. So endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs, as most people call them, are hugely disruptive to the endocrine system. Now, you know, the reason why I'm saying this is because these are the things that you're going to want to look for to avoid, because it's all about cleaning up your environment and avoiding hormone disrupting chemicals that allows your body to balance the hormones naturally again. I'm not a proponent for hormone replacement therapy 100% of the time or anything like that. But what I am a proponent of, and what's worked millions of times, is teaching people how to clean their environment and how to balance their hormones naturally. So hormones operate at very tiny amounts, and they can be disturbed even by low doses of hormonally active chemicals. So not only are endocrine disrupting chemicals bad for you, but they're also bad for the environment. It's been proven that they harm wildlife reproduction. I mean, we have a serious problem with not only us, but the animals, because these chemicals are getting in all the waters. The animals that they're, you know, all the pesticides and herbicides that these animals are exposed to, or toxic food that they're eating, the same thing is happening to the animals. These chemicals cause reproductive disorders in humans. They cause infertility in males and females. They're linked to a whole host of cancers. And now we know without a doubt that exposure to these endocrine disrupting chemicals during early development in the womb and during childhood may cause permanent effects. And it might even cause permanent effects for generation after generation after generation. Unfortunately, many of the most used most of the industrial chemicals are endocrine disruptors, and the sad thing is that there's very poor regulations and absolutely horrible oversight by the organizations in the government that are supposed to be protecting us, the EPA, the FDA, the USDA, not to mention the irresponsibility of corporate, you know, these corporate Monsanto and these big Dow AgriSciences and Syngenta and all these corporations that are putting out the majority of these chemicals and the plasticizers and everything else that are being released into the atmosphere and that have made their way into the food and the water. So again, what I wanted to do is kind of talk to you about some of the most common things that you can avoid, or some of the most common endocrine disruptors out there. And these are going to be things like BPA, dioxins, atrazine, phthalates, perchlorate, fire retardants, lead, mercury, arsenic, organophosphate pesticides, glycol esters, you know, just some of these different things. And you don't have to understand the actual chemicals, but what you do need to do is understand that where these chemicals are coming from and how to find them and how to look for them in your own environment. I mean, again, it's just about keeping your own environment clean. Some of these are actually called xenoestrogens. And xenoestrogen is actually a type of a xenohormone, and it really, what it means is just that it's a chemical or a compound that imitates estrogen. It's basically like a fake estrogen, and these can be synthetic or natural compounds. So starting with one of the most significant xenoestrogens that's out there that I highly recommend that you avoid is going to be bisphenol A, or BPA. And that's a chemical used in plastics. In your body, it imitates estrogen. Now think about how much plastic you're around every day and how food, just about every food container, is in plastic. The evidence of BPA toxicity is overwhelming. I mean, basically what happens is your body identifies BPA as if it was real estrogen, and this can lead to your body behaving like it's loaded with estrogen. So BPA has been known to affect fertility, breast health, cause reproductive cancers, initiate obesity, diabetes, and even early pregnancy. Now, we've made a little bit of progress reducing the use of BPA, but it was mostly a cover-up, and most people don't know this. You know, there's such a big market in BPA that the big companies, when the baby bottle scandal came out with BPA, they were like, okay, let's just take BPA out of baby bottles. Well, they did that just so they could create a diversion, so most people would say, okay, well, BPA is out of everything. Well, the whole activist community pretty much stopped addressing the dangers of BPA after the baby bottle because everybody just assumed it was gone. And that's not the case. I mean, BPA is still found in most food packaging sources. Back in 2008, Canada banned baby bottles that contained BPA, and at the time, Walmart even volunteered to pull them off the shelf in the USA, despite assurances from the FDA that the bottles were safe. Again, the FDA said that BPA was safe. And it wasn't until 2010 where the FDA finally admitted that the National Toxicology Program studies were correct and that BPA was damaging to the brain, caused behavioral issues in children, and affected the prostate gland, also affected fetuses and children. In 2011, the Harvard School of Medicine published a study in the Journal of Pediatrics that found pregnant mothers' exposure to BPA correlated behaviors of hyperactivity, anxiety, aggression, and depression. I mean, I think that all of these childhood disorders that, we're having problems with these days are all caused by chemicals. I mean, I'm not, I'm 100% sure of it, because I know, but the problem is nobody else knows out there. I mean, but this is a Harvard school study right here. I mean, it's telling you that. University of Virginia School of Medicine, that when they exposed female mice to high levels of BPA, actually it wasn't even high levels, it was even low levels of BPA before and during pregnancy, the offspring experienced measurable behavioral and neuronal changes. The genetic changes were detectable in the second, third, and even the fourth generation. Like I was saying earlier, it doesn't affect you now, it can affect you 4 generations from now. Can you imagine what's going to happen 4 generations from now because of all these endocrine disrupting chemicals? That was published in the Journal of Endocrinology. I mean, so it's not like I'm making this stuff up. I mean, this is like scientific evidence. 90% of us have detectable amounts of BPA in our urine on any given day. BPA is actually even found on receipts and money right now. So if you touch any receipt, most likely you're getting BPA. If you touch any money, you're getting BPA. And one of the things that people don't understand, how many people do you know out there that use a microwave oven? How many TV dinners, how many food packaging is packaged in plastics out there? You heat it in the microwave, not only BPA, but all the chemicals end up coming into your food. So, and I'll tell you another thing. How many people do you know that drink out of aluminum cans? Diet drinks, beer out of aluminum cans. Canned food that's in your pantry, canned peas, carrots, whatever, even if it's organic. See, one thing I'm really upset about is the National Organic Program hasn't eliminated BPA from the cartons. A lot of the linings in milk cartons, coconut milk, almond milk, even if it's not organic, and anything that's not organic is going to have BPA lining inside the cans, the metal cans. So how do you avoid BPA? The first thing you want to do is avoid canned food. You should be eating healthy live food anyway. Almost all cans, milk containers, all that stuff, especially if it's not organic, is going to be BPA lined. Plastics with the recycling labels, number 1, number 2, and number 4, when you look on the bottom, it has that little triangle on it, it has a number in it. Those are the safer choice and do not contain BPA. So that's what you want to look for. Plastics marked with a PC for polycarbonate or recycling number 7, be careful of those. You know, even a lot of the bottled water, you know, that you have these days still is in, you know, BPA or some other toxic plastic that sits out in the sun a lot of times at the convenience store or during shipping. It can contain high levels of BPA. Next way to avoid BPA is going to be, do not microwave your food or store food in plastic containers. It'll leach right into your food. Try not to handle, like I said earlier, paper cash receipts, money, stuff like that. Avoid drinking beer, sodas, all that stuff in aluminum cans. If you're going to drink sodas anyway, which you shouldn't be doing because the body only wants and needs water after breastfeeding, then at least go to an organic food store and get your sodas or whatever in glass bottles and avoid any of the aluminum cans. And avoid cheap plastic toys. A lot of the swim toys, pretty much all the plastic toys that come from China are going to have toxic plastics and chemicals in them that can be dangerous to your health and your child's health. So avoid plastic toys. One other thing, just avoid a lot of plastics in general. Your cooking utensils, you should use silicone or bamboo or something like that. Just try to go with all glass, bamboo, or silicone. The second xenoestrogen that I want to talk about is dioxins. And dioxins are industrial chemicals that interfere with the male and female sex hormones. Dioxins really affect sperm quality and count. And even worse, dioxins build up in the body, and over time they damage the immune system and the reproductive systems. According to the World Health Organization, about 95% of human exposure to dioxins comes from the diet. And the highest level of dioxins is usually going to be found in the fat content of meat and fish. It's also found in cigarette smoke and also herbicides. Herbicides are going to be what you spray on your lawn, or your lawn service that comes by there and sprays herbicides on there to kill off all the weeds or the different types of plants you don't want growing in there. It's really hard to avoid dioxins because industrial use has contaminated much of the food supply. So really, eat organic and try to avoid, animals that are, have high fat content. Milk also has, non-organic milk is going to have higher or lower levels of dioxins than organic milk. And personally, I would recommend switching over to like almond milk, hemp milk, coconut milk, stuff like that. And just, slowly reducing your beef intake or your meat intake. So that's dioxins. The third xenoestrogen that we're going to talk about is going to be atrazine from our friends, not at Syngenta. Now, anybody who doesn't know who Syngenta is the big conglomerate like Monsanto, which is destroying the planet with a bunch of chemicals and genetically modified research. Atrazine is a toxic herbicide which is primarily used on corn. Because so much corn is grown and atrazine is so heavily used, atrazine is major drinking water contaminant. I mean, all this stuff that gets sprayed on the farmlands ultimately leaches back into our water system. And if you think that your local municipal water plant is able to get the atrazine and the xenoestrogens and the pharmaceuticals and the fluoride and the chlorine and all the other toxic chemicals out of water, no, they cannot do that. I mean, when you drink tap water, you're literally drinking a chemical slough of poison. And your body is 80-90% water. So, I mean, when you think about it, the body only wants and needs water, yet the water is contaminated, especially with all these hormone disrupting chemicals. According to the EPA, atrazine is estimated to be the most heavily used herbicide in the U.S. 75% of the field corn acreage grown in the U.S. is treated with atrazine. Mostly, the research done by the EPA shows that hormonal activity, specifically testosterone, progesterone, luteinizing hormone, estrogen, and thyroid hormones, are all affected by atrazine. As a matter of fact, in 2010, the University of California, Berkeley reported that atrazine has gender-bending effects on frogs. Microscopic low levels of atrazine levels below what the EPA considers safe have turned male frogs into female frogs. Now that is pretty crazy. And not just male frogs that look like female frogs, we're talking male to female with completely viable eggs. Atrazine is linked to breast tumors, delayed puberty, and even prostate cancer. So, that's something that, the best way to avoid atrazine is going to just buy organic produce. I mean, people say, look, buying organic is expensive, but you have to avoid these things. And, the second way is to get a good water filtration system and try to avoid tap water. Yes, it might be a little bit expensive for you to put a whole house system in or under sink system, whatever, but if you ever go out to restaurants and eat, buy bottled water, either sparkling or in the bottle if they have it, a glass bottle. It's hard. It really is, because what are you going to do? I mean, all the restaurants cook their food in toxic water. I mean, I don't know of too many restaurants that cook their food in pure filtered water with no, xenoestrogens or anything like that. I mean, but the whole purpose is, to learn about how you can improve your health, to learn about how you can balance your hormones naturally. And, even if you do one thing at a time, and, your first step is education. You have to become aware of all this stuff. So the number 4 endocrine disrupting chemical, or xenoestrogen, I'd like to talk about is phthalates. Phthalates are chemicals used to carry fragrances or soften plastics. They're used in sealants, cosmetics, perfumes, cologne, nail polish, water bottles, again, because phthalates make plastics flexible. They even have phthalates on medications. A lot of the medications, for example, Viagra and birth control pills, are coated with xenoestrogens, phthalates, which, why are they coated with phthalates? That makes no sense. Body care products, plastic flooring, adhesive, here's how they work. Your body has a way of signaling when a cell should die. Now, when this is normal, you're constantly regenerating new cells. The problem is phthalates prematurely trigger the death-inducing signal in cells. So, instead of the normal process of when your cells are about to die and you get the signals and your cell dies and the new cells start to regrow, the phthalates prematurely trigger the cell-inducing signal. So your cells, sometimes before they're ready to die, can die. And the cells that are most vulnerable to phthalates are going to be your testicular cells in men. So phthalates have a direct relationship affecting hormones, lowering sperm count, cause reproductive system birth defects, thyroid irregularities, and they can also affect fertility and libido. The Food and Drug Administrator, the FDA, the ones that just have absolutely no oversight over this toxic stuff and allow everything toxic but try to block everything natural, they require most cosmetic ingredients to be listed. But here's the problem. They offer a loophole for fragrances. So their formulas are considered, these companies' formulas are considered proprietary secrets, so the manufacturer can simply use the term fragrance on the label. And the thing about phthalates is that they're a common ingredient in the air fresheners that most people use in their car and spray all over the place. As a matter of fact, 75% of U.S. households use some sort of air freshener. So the California EPA warns that both are developmental because some of these fragrances, you know, they might say all natural, they might say unscented, but two phthalates that are popular are known as DEP and DBP, and both are developmental toxins and harmful to the female and male reproductive tract. But the thing is, you never know about these because they're not listed on the label. There's no requirements. Although in the European Union, they've banned phthalates in cosmetics and children's toys in 2004, and 14 other countries have banned phthalates except for the U.S. Those other countries have also banned fluoride and a lot of the other toxic chemicals. The problem is that in those other countries, people are actually standing up and saying, you know, this is a problem. Let's bring it to the legislator. Let's bring it to, you know, our local government agencies so we can do something about it. So in one, I'm just going to read off a couple studies here. In one human study, infant boys born to mothers with high phthalate urine levels were more likely to have smaller penises, scrotums, and undescended testicles. Here's another one. Boys born to mothers with the highest level of phthalates were 4 to 10 times more likely to have reduced genital development. One study in Puerto Rico found that phthalates cause premature breast development in girls younger than 8. A 2005 study, for instance, suggested that phthalates could affect the genital development of boys, and other research has associated the chemicals with the early onset of puberty in girls. According to Greenpeace, testing by an independent laboratory found phthalates in 21 out of 30 samples of children's products purchased from China. Now, why is that important? Because kids end up chewing on plastic toys all the time. So how do you avoid phthalates? Well, one of the things I'm going to talk about over and over and over is regular body cleansing. I mean, a lot of these things we're going to be exposed to on a regular basis, and we just need to keep cleansing our body and cleansing our body and cleansing our body. You know, especially until you can get all this stuff out. I mean, one thing that's been lost is the fact that we're just accumulating toxins and we're not doing anything about it. So, cleansing the body regularly, avoiding the toxic chemical-based air fresheners, minimizing your exposure to plastic toys, plastic wrap, food containers, body care and cosmetics, hygiene products, big source of phthalates. You know, if you have anything in your bathroom, makeup, body lotion, shampoo, any of that stuff, most likely every single thing in there is going to be an endocrine disruptor, and you're going to be absorbing that through your skin, which is your largest organ. So one of the things you're going to do, you can either go down each ingredient that you don't understand on the label and type that ingredient in, and then type in phthalate or endocrine disrupting chemical, and you'll be able to pull up if that chemical is an endocrine disruptor. Or you can just look at all those body care products and see if they contain fragrance or natural fragrance or anything like that on the label, and most likely it's going to have phthalates in it. The next xenoestrogen is perchlorate, which is really rocket fuel, believe it or not, and it's a chemically similar to the harmful halogens. And it competes with iodine and can disrupt your thyroid hormones by causing harm to the iodine transporters. And we're going to talk about later on how important iodine actually is at balancing your hormones naturally. But the reason I want to mention rocket fuel is it can throw your metabolism out, and it even affects your brain and organ development, especially in kids. Perchlorate's been found in 93% of the nation's milk and lettuce supply in an FDA study. Because it's in the big rivers, because of the runoff from the jet fuel and the rocket fuel and all the other stuff that's coming down into the water and in the rain, it's going into all the rivers. And all the rivers are used, especially the Colorado River, to irrigate a lot of the farms And when you take toxic water from the river, you irrigate your farms, well then guess what? You're going to have all those toxic chemicals in your food and, you know, ultimately in the water supply. Drinking water in 22 states has extremely high levels of perchlorate. Here's a statistic, is that perchlorate has been found in the breast milk of 97% of the mothers who were tested. And according to the EPA, perchlorate is detrimental to the thyroid gland, metabolism, and hormone balance. So how do you avoid perchlorate? Well, number one, you get enough iodine in your system to load the receptor sites so your thyroid is not going to be damaged. You want to drink purified water because perchlorate is a contaminant in most tap water. And you want to try to eat organic foods as much as possible. I mean, keep coming back to the water and the organic foods because you're going to at least drastically reduce the amount of these chemicals if you're consuming pure, clean water and pure, clean, organic foods, especially if you grow your own foods. The next thing is fire retardants. Fire retardants contain polybrominated, bromine is a toxic halogen again, diphenyl ethers, so they call them PBDEs. Now, fire retardants disrupt hormonal activity, and the way they do it is they imitate your thyroid hormones. They really affect cognitive function. And flame retardants are in a lot of building materials. You know, so while you're at work, you might be exposed to them, even in home building materials. When you rip out carpet, you know, that foam under the carpet usually has high levels of fire retardants. Reupholstering furniture with the foam in there. So in 2007, mattresses sold in the U.S. are required to be have flame retardants on them. Just obviously, so you can't, you know, if there's a fire in your room, you don't catch fire. But these companies are heavily dosing them, especially these memory foam mattresses are the worst because people buy these memory foam mattresses and then they sleep there, and not only the fire retardants, but all these other chemicals that these foams are made out of leach out, and then you sit there and breathe these all the time, and then, you know, while you're sleeping, your sleep is disturbed. And these are all endocrine disrupting or hormonal imbalancing chemicals. So avoid any products with brominated fire retardants. And you know, next time you buy curtains, next time you buy fabrics, next time you buy, you know, whatever you're going to buy, furniture for your house, carpet, all that, you want to ask the manufacturer what type of chemicals, what type of fire retardants, and what type of material your carpets and everything are made of. A lot of them are actually made with petroleum-based products. You know, it's like that statistic of a baby crawling on a standard floor inhales the equivalent of 4 cigarettes on a daily basis due to the amount of chemicals released and dust mites and all the other stuff that are on the floor in most houses with toxic carpet, etc. The next endocrine disrupting chemical I'd like to talk about is perfluorinated chemicals. Now these are, we talked about brominated, fluoride. Just to back up, the toxic halogens are fluoride, bromine, chlorine, and the other halogen is iodine, but that's the good one. So there's 3 bad ones. And so those are the things that you want to look out. Those wreak havoc on the endocrine system, especially your thyroid. So perfluorinated chemicals are like brominated, but except with a fluoride compound in them. And this is going to be your non-stick cookware that everybody uses, the Teflons and the waterproof coatings that people put on their decking outside, spray on their shoes, everything else. You know, most people wouldn't think that their Teflon or their frying pans would be endocrine disrupting, release endocrine disrupting chemicals, but those have been linked to decreased sperm count, and 99% of the Americans have these in their homes. So another sad thing is these things never really break down in the environment, and as you get rid of these and they go into toxic dumps and everything, it just keeps contaminating the system and contaminating the system. Actually, a lot of the microwave food bags that contain different types of foods that you heat up in the microwave, those actually also contain perfluorinated compounds, phthalates, and toxic chemicals too. So how do you avoid those? Well, you want to just stay away from nonstick cookware. You want to replace that with non-toxic ceramic-based, non-chemical-based cookware. And for baking material, I use silicone. That's probably one of the best. And then we use all the different types of ceramic type non-toxic cookware. There's a bunch of them out there. The next endocrine disruptor is glycol ethers, and that's used in paint, cleaning products, and cosmetics as well. You see propylene glycol in a lot of different cosmetics. Now, there are a few problems associated with these. First, animal studies have shown that glycol ethers shrink the testicles. If you notice, a lot of these things really affect the male's reproduction system, and that's pretty serious, considering that when people can't get pregnant, a lot of times the woman is blamed for it. But I can tell you from experience, we had worked with a lot of fertility and infertility with cleansing. A lot of the times, the majority of the times, it's the male that has the problem, at least in the last 10 or 15 years. So how do you avoid glycol ethers? You avoid toxic cleaning products around your house. What I would do is go around your house, look at all the cleaning products that you have, and replace those with non-toxic cleaning products that don't contain any of these chemicals. I personally use and recommend Branch Basics. I think they work awesome. But there's plenty of organic, all-natural cleaning products out there. Order them online, make your own. I mean, you can type in how to make DIY cleaning products, or how to make your own organic cleaning products. I mean, you can just use organic vinegar and water. There's many different types of recipes. Orange oil with water, vinegar, stuff like that. Add a little hydrogen peroxide in there. I mean, there's plenty of recipes that you can use that aren't going to produce endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now, the next endocrine disruptor is lead. Now, there's not as much lead around anymore as there used to be, but it's harmful to your whole body. I mean, it can cause brain damage, it can lower your IQ, hearing loss, miscarriages, premature birth, increased blood pressure, kidney damage, nervous system potential problems. But as far as hormones are concerned, lead reduces the sex hormones, and it disrupts the hormone signaling process that controls how your bodies handle stress. Now, a 2013 study found that lead exposure can have disastrous effects on the reproductive system. A 2012 study, Turkish research, found that chronic lead exposure was a factor responsible for erectile dysfunction. Now, sources of lead, because they had to remove it from the paint, but if you're, anything in your house, if it was painted before 1976, most likely still has a lot of lead, and that could include toys. As a matter of fact, they're still finding lead in toys coming from China right now. So that can be another source. Anything, for that matter, painted outside of the U.S. and imported in could contain lead. These are some of the sources. Bullets, if you handle bullets a lot. Curtain weights, some of the old silver candle holders, stuff like that, contain lead. Fishing sinkers or lead fishing weights. You might have some lead in some of your pipes in your house. Sink faucets might have some lead in it, which can contaminate your drinking water. That's why eventually what I recommend is when you redo your piping, if you have an old house, you use PEX tubing. PEX tubing is like a high-density polyethylene, which is not going to emit any type of plastic or any type of endocrine disrupting chemicals. And it's not made of metal. A lot of these metals have different compounds in them that can over time rust and put stuff into your water system. You might have old paint sets, art supplies, jewelry. If you do pottery, lead figures, stuff like that. So, those are some of the things that I would recommend that you look for around your house, and then try to eliminate. Or if you're in a job that has any type of exposure to that, then limit that exposure, get out of that job, or the best way to get lead out of your system is to do chemical and heavy metal cleansing on a regular basis. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so big, again, on cleansing. But definitely with the water, again, coming back to water, purifying the water. The next endocrine disrupting chemical, which is a poison, is arsenic. Now, arsenic contamination in food and water is absolutely rampant. Arsenic affects hormones, usually in the glucocorticoid system, which is what controls how your body processes carbohydrates and sugars. Now, when this process is disrupted, it's going to cause weight gain, could cause weight loss, suppress your immune system, make you more susceptible to diabetes, osteoporosis, and even high blood pressure. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've definitely noticed, and the pharmaceutical companies have noticed, a massive spike in high blood pressure, osteoporosis, diabetes, weight gain, all these things. And I can tell, all this is directly related to hormone disruptors and other chemical disruptors and toxins that people are exposed to on a regular basis. Now, the biggest exposure point for arsenic is going to be water, tap water, air, soil, and pesticides. So, eating organic again, drinking clean water, eating clean food, cleaning up the water in your house that you take a shower in, and also cleaning the air in your house as well, with a good full-blown air purification system. I use the REMI units, which produce ionized hydroperoxides. Doesn't really matter. Some air cleaners are better than others, but you definitely want to clean the air constantly in your home. The next endocrine disrupting metal is actually mercury. Now, most people don't know that mercury really damages the endocrine system. It's contaminated a massive portion of the seafood supply, and new warnings just came out the other day concerning its danger for pregnant women because of its effects on fetal brain development. So mercury binds to hormones that regulate the menstrual cycle and ovulation. This hormone whenever you have mercury interference, it's damaging to the pancreas's ability to produce insulin and can also lead to diabetes. That's just the hormonal issues. That's not, many of the other problems that mercury causes within the system. And mercury is contained in vaccines, flu shots, all your dental amalgams. Mercury's been linked to hypothyroidism, thyroid damage, autoimmune thyroiditis, and impairs the T4 to T3 conversion, which are two thyroid hormones. The mercury sources, like I said, that you need to worry about is in water. There's actually mercury pollution coming over in the air from China now, so it's getting in our soil. It's one of those things where you just need to avoid it as much as possible by drinking purified water again, reducing the amount of seafood, especially the bigger the fish is, the higher level of mercury it's going to contain, obviously. So if you go to Global Healing Center and you type in mercury in the search bar, we have a lot of all the levels of all the fish in there, so it'd be a good idea to read more about that and learn about how you can avoid mercury more often. If you do have dental mercury amalgams, I highly, highly recommend you go to a biological dentist and get those removed, because you're going to constantly be releasing mercury into your brain. The next thing I'd like to talk about is DDT. DDT is not around as much as it was early on, but DDT is still a huge problem. It's a pesticide, and it has damaging and feminizing effects. Now, here's a shocking study that I wanted to read to you. In the 1950s, 2 Syracuse biologists showed that DDT stopped roosters from developing into normal adult roosters. DDT was injected into rooster chicks. They didn't get sick or die, but they grew to resemble hens. Their growth was stunted, and they had testicles 18% of normal size. So basically, the DDT effectively castrated the roosters. I mean, and that is just a chemical that was sprayed everywhere. I mean, you know, I've seen some of the commercials that, you know, from back in the day in the 50s, 40s, and 50s, where they were just spraying clouds of DDT over the children, saying, "Oh, it's safe. We're, you know, spraying pesticides on you, and everything is okay." So researchers at UC Davis found that injecting seagull eggs with DDE, which is a breakdown product of DDT, and another chemical, a pesticide that binds to estrogen receptors, caused the gull's reproductive tract to become female. Even the male testicles contained female cells, and the male gulls exposed to higher doses of the pesticide combo even developed the egg-laying tunnel, the oviduct, that only the female gulls have. So, I mean, these pesticides and herbicides, if you trace them back, really were developed by the Nazis for chemical warfare during World War II. After the war, American scientists used the same chemistry to create pesticides and herbicides, which are still used today. According to the USGS, more than 88,000 tons of glyphosate, which is from Monsanto, were used in the United States in 2007. That was up 11,000 tons in 1992, and now 2 billion tons of pesticides are used annually in the United States. 2 billion tons of endocrine disrupting chemicals are being sprayed on all of our farmland throughout the United States. And it's increasing and increasing and increasing because these plants are developing immunity to, or these herbicides, the plants and the weeds are developing, they're just developing immunity, so they keep having to spray more and more on there. In 2009, Spanish research found that without a doubt that glyphosate-based herbicides are toxic and endocrine disruptors. In humans, organophosphate exposure hurts brain development and fertility. It lowers testosterone and thyroid hormone levels. Here's some more stuff. In 1985, it was known that organophosphate exposure decreased testosterone levels. Why, if it was known scientifically in 1985 that organophosphate exposure decreased testosterone levels and was toxic, why are these companies still allowed to spray billions of tons on all of our plants? Well, that's just because of the money and, the inside workings of the lobbyists with all the oil and gas and the chemical industry and the pharmaceutical companies, and everything just works together. Organophosphates have been linked to lowered IQ levels and increased rates of ADHD in children. The American Association of Poison Control Centers estimate that over 100,000 poisonings annually in America are due to pesticides. So why are pesticides a problem? Pesticides mimic estrogen. So now I'd like to just kind of move on to shortly is just GMO foods, because about 88% of the corn and 94% of the soy is now genetically modified. And this is where we get a lot of our food, and that's why it's a good idea to switch to organic. So while we're talking about organic produce, GMO foods exacerbate hormone problems by attacking the largest endocrine organ, the intestines. And this is why GMOs are such a problem, because corn and soy and canola oil and cottonseed oil and a lot of the things that these foods are made with can cause health issues because our bodies don't process genetically modified foods the same as non-GMO foods. In 2012, there was a study that suggested sex hormones were vulnerable to GMO and Roundup treatments. Think about that for a second. Corn is in everything we eat, and almost all corn is GMO, and it's doused with glyphosate, which is Roundup. I mean, everybody's heard of Roundup. I mean, I'm sure you probably have Roundup in your garage somewhere that you spray on all the weeds. So, you know, the more people that use it, and how we get around all this stuff is just everybody needs to stop buying and supporting these main companies that are just messing everybody up. And then they spray their lawn with all this Roundup, and they spray all the weeds, and their kids run out in the yard and play and then get all these endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now, of course, we're told that only insects are affected by this Bt toxin. This Bt toxin actually blows the stomach up of insects that eat. It's actually programmed into the corn, mostly corn, but other GMO plants. So when the insects eat it, it blows up their stomach and it works as an insecticide. But it actually now has been found harmful to the human digestive tract, and it's what causes leaky gut syndrome. So the GI tract is your largest endocrine organ. So if you disrupt the GI tract, you're actually going to have disruption from allowing these estrogens not to be broken down properly, and these perforations in the gut to allow all these endocrine disrupting chemicals to pass directly into the bloodstream. So it's very important to try to avoid any genetically modified foods. Look on the label, buy organic again, and just educate yourself. Throw out any Roundup or anything, any herbicides that you might have around your house. That's how you're going to avoid these things. The next thing is cosmetics. And we briefly touched on cosmetics earlier, but it is a huge, huge problem because the cosmetics industry has almost zero oversight and is hugely at fault for these hormone disrupting products. Perfume, cologne, basically 99% of the fragrances used in cosmetics are synthetic chemicals produced from a benzene ring or a phenyl group. Now, you don't have to be a chemist, but these rings, when you have a benzyl group or a phenyl group, fit into estrogen receptors. So cosmetics have a ton of xenoestrogen chemicals, and these xenoestrogen chemicals mimic estrogen. They're fat soluble, which, you know, estrogen is absorbed into fat, and the problem is all these cosmetics are absorbed through your skin. They stimulate the estrogen receptors in the breast and cause fibrocystic breast disease. They can even cause cancer. In fact, a 2008 study showed, it was called Are Lipsticks Changing Your Cup Size? And basically it showed that the lipstick even has endocrine disrupting chemicals in it that can change your cup size. Sunscreens, makeup, you know, the thing that concerns me a lot is sunscreen out there, and how many parents who don't want to, you know, who want to protect their kids, they slather them up with all this sunscreen anytime they go outside, and, you know, it's a major problem. I mean, it's been shown now that sunscreen actually has endocrine disruptors, and not only that, it actually initiates skin cancer. In one test, a chemical common in sunscreen was mixed with olive oil and applied to rat skin. It doubled the uterine growth. Who would have ever thought that sunscreen was going to disrupt hormones in children and adults? So what I would recommend is, like we talked about earlier, go through all your cosmetics, everything you slather on your skin, and make sure that you switch to organic or natural sources. And I mean, look, I know people that apply sunscreen to their kids twice a day, every single day. I mean, even the things that we talk about today, if you were to make one change, you know, a week, you're still going to be making progress, you know, and switching over to natural organic things instead of toxic things. Another endocrine disrupting product that most people don't even know about is laundry detergent. You know, when laundry detergents, or detergents in general for that matter, break down, they release alkyl phenols. And alkyl phenols have infiltrated the water supply, and they've been shown to create hermaphrodite fish. As a matter of fact, in 2004, fish that were half male and half female were discovered below the sewage treatment plants in Denver and in Boulder, Colorado. And eventually people drink this water. So, you know, look out for dry cleaning. You know, when you dry clean your clothes, make sure you go to a natural dry cleaner, because when you put those clothes on and you sweat, guess what? Your skin absorbs some of those chemicals in. Look at your laundry detergent. What are you using to wash your kids and your family's clothes with? You know, switch to an organic, all-natural laundry detergent. So, estrogens, you know, some of the other things, you know, unfortunately synthetic hormones from medications also are being found in the drinking water. You know, every time a woman on the pill goes to the bathroom, minute amount of hormones go down to the toilet and go into the water supply. You know, so again, make sure that you are drinking clean water. A natural endocrine disruptor would be soy, as a matter of fact. We touched on it with the GMOs, but soy is a big-time product that I recommend everybody avoid. And soy is in everything these days. Look at the label. You'll see soy lecithin, soy protein, soy this, soy that. First of all, most of the soy, like we said, is GMO. Secondly, soy contains phytoestrogens. Now, fermented soy is going to be a lot safer for you to eat. But we already have estrogen dominance, and so my recommendation is to not increase the amount of estrogen in your body, but to decrease it. So one of the things I recommend highly is that you avoid soy and the phytoestrogens in soy. Some of the other food things that you might not know about, such as that might have endocrine disrupting things, is gluten. Gluten is something that, you know, I've studied for a long time. And I must admit, you know, I was eating wheat and you know, always felt run down and low energy. But gluten has been shown to affect the thyroid. And it's not just people that are gluten intolerant. It's everybody. Anyone who has thyroid disorders that might not be labeled as gluten intolerant is gluten intolerant. As a matter of fact, gluten has a molecular structure that closely resembles the thyroid gland. And when its proteins pass through your gut and into your bloodstream, your immune system tags it for destruction. It doesn't matter, you know, if you have a gluten insensitivity or not. The fact is, every single person on the planet is allergic to gluten, because your immune system will tag it as a toxin no matter what. And because the protein is so similar to the thyroid gets attacked too. And the immune system's response to gluten in the body can last up to 6 months each time you consume it. Now that is a fact that I found that I did not know and is incredibly startling to me, and that's why I do not eat any gluten. I mean, you eat gluten and then your immune system can be depressed for up to 6 months each time you consume gluten. So gluten is an endocrine disruptor. I mean, you know, avoid gluten. I mean, it's absolutely vital to completely eliminate gluten from your diet. You don't have to do it, you know, right now all of a sudden, but, you know, it's kind of hard to go gluten-free. I mean, you know, type in online how to go gluten-free. I mean, there's lots of sources out there. The next source is fluoride, which was identified as an endocrine disruptor in a 2006 report that stated fluoride affects normal endocrine function or response, although not in the sense of mimicking a natural hormone. So really what happens with fluoride is it affects the thyroid, the pancreas, the pineal gland, and the parathyroid, and most of your fluoride exposure is going to come through water sources. So again, to eliminate fluoride as an endocrine disruptor, drink purified water. Aluminum is also an endocrine disruptor, and that's in the chemtrails that you see overhead. That you know, there's high levels of aluminum falling. If you don't know what chemtrails are, it's proven. The government has it. It's documented. It's not a conspiracy. Yes, they're spraying high levels of aluminum nanoparticles all over the United States and all over the world in an attempt to cool the earth and, you know, through global warming. So aluminum cans, aluminum deodorants. I mean, what you want to do is limit your sources of aluminum. The next toxic endocrine disruptor is aspartame. If anyone out there is drinking diet drinks or diet sodas, anything that's, you know, sugar-free, make sure it doesn't have aspartame in it. You know, there were studies done at the university in South Africa that show aspartame is a potent neurotoxin. It's been shown to be an endocrine disruptor. University of Barcelona showed that aspartame was transformed into formaldehyde in the bodies of living specimens. And formaldehyde is also a toxic endocrine disruptor. Aspartame is also found in water supplies, so I highly recommend you limit all aspartame. Parabens are preservatives used in deodorants, makeup, body lotions, moisturizers, cosmetic products. Look for parabens. If you have parabens in your product, that's an endocrine disruptor. Again, go to natural sources instead. Triclosan. Most people haven't heard of triclosan. It's a germ-killing ingredient in soaps, deodorants, even toothpaste. As a matter of fact, Minnesota just banned triclosan, which is great. It's going to be the first state to ban triclosan, and that's going to be in water supplies. So look at all the soaps that you're using too, you know, all the handheld soaps and stuff like that. Also, if you're in prescription medications, we talked about it, you want to look online at the ingredients in your prescription medication. Phthalates are in a lot of drug coatings. A lot of the psychotropic drugs, the antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, those have endocrine disrupting chemicals in them. Alcohol. Yes, alcohol can make your endocrine system behave in a sloppy way, just like someone who's had too many drinks. You know, alcohol affects blood sugar levels, reproductive function, calcium metabolism. It can interfere with the testes and ovaries. It can result in hormone deficiencies, sexual dysfunction, and alcohol can even result in infertility. Alcohol has been shown to be toxic to the testes, reduces testosterone levels in men. Here's a study, one study, normal healthy men who received alcohol for 4 weeks had their testosterone levels decline after only 5 days. And the levels continued to fall throughout the study period. So people, you know, if you're out there and you're trying to balance your hormones naturally, you know, these are the things that you're going to want to avoid. You know, and I'm going to post all these things. I'm going to post all these notes, you know, that I have too below this video on the Global Healing Center site, so you can actually look through all my notes and, you know, have references to the studies and stuff like that. Because I know this is getting long, but I wanted to cover all these things because there's so many different topics on hormone balancing, and, you know, so many people are looking out there, well, how do I balance my hormones? Well, you balance your hormones by avoiding all the hormone disrupting chemicals. So for premenopausal women, for example, alcohol contributes to irregular menstrual cycles without ovulation, early menopause, and increased risk of spontaneous abortions. Postmenopausal women who drink have higher estradiol levels than those who don't. Alcohol can increase the conversion of testosterone into estradiol. Bottom line, alcohol is not good if you're trying to balance your hormones or get pregnant. So another thing I'd like to focus on, and we're almost done, I only have probably about 15 minutes left, is stress. Stress is important. It's important to minimize your stress. Skipping meals, over or exercising, under exercising, bad sleep, processed foods, refined sugars, all the chemicals and toxins that we talk about. Stress, when you're stressed, there's eustress and distress. I'm talking about distress when you're out of balance. Stress affects the stress hormones, namely cortisol. Cortisol interferes with your balance of hormones and neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the chemicals that regulate your mood, your emotions, and cognitive function. Without hormone balance, we don't have neurotransmitter balance. And if we don't have neurotransmitter balance, we're just in a reactive, responsive survival mode. That means you're not in control. You're in a fight or flight. You're in a sympathetic state. And that's not the way to live. We want to be in a parasympathetic state. But stress has been shown to decrease progesterone levels and make your body think more estrogen is there. That's because progesterone is the precursor form which all other hormones are created, including adrenal hormones. So a stressful situation increases production of corticosteroids to defend against the stress. But if you're constantly stressed, your body can produce enough. Your body can't produce enough progesterone, and that would lead to adrenal exhaustion. I mean, that's why a lot of people right now are suffering with adrenal fatigue. They're constantly fatigued. So, just to recap, we got pesticides in our food and water, toxic metals, industrial chemicals, poisons in cosmetic products, phthalates, BPA. It might sound like a lot, but it's really about avoiding and learning how to read the label and avoid all these things. So now I'm going to go over some natural solutions. These are some things you can do. It's not a bad idea to get a baseline of where your hormones are, working with a natural practitioner, someone who specializes in endocrine balancing, stuff like that. They can take some blood, urine, and saliva tests to measure your hormones as a baseline. But I can tell you that what's going to happen is as soon as you run all those tests and you get your hormone levels back, if you avoid all these things and you continue to clean your body, then most likely those tests are going to be more close to normal every time you go in, instead of that individual putting you on hormone replacement therapy. I always look at what is the natural way to balance hormones. Hormone balancing is really a fountain of youth. I mean, if you think about it, it's important for women and men. I mean, you talk about hormones, and most people think, oh, that's just women. But more and more men are having hormone problems, and they just don't realize it. So it's very important to balance them out. And the solution number one out of everything else is to cleanse your body, cleanse your body, cleanse your body. Internal body cleansing is the most effective way to encourage normal hormone balancing. And for fertility, for that matter, I mean, when we had a fertility program, all we would do, I had people come in that couldn't get pregnant. They spent $250,000 on IVF, different types of fertility programs, everything. I said, okay, we'll just clean your body. Let's go through an intestinal cleanse, couple liver and gallbladder cleanses, chemical and heavy metal cleanse, parasite cleanse. We didn't even get into parasites, but parasites can extract and go to the bathroom in your body, and what they extract is different types of phenols, formaldehyde, and endocrine disrupting chemicals. So good parasite cleansing, kidney cleansing, all that, and we had them go through a round of cleansing, and then sure enough, within 2 or 3 months, their body is so clean and they're avoiding all the endocrine disrupting chemicals that they got pregnant. And they had a healthy baby. And so, that's what I recommend, is everybody do this before they get pregnant. But anyone who's having thyroid, anybody who's having any type of symptoms, endocrine disrupting chemicals, hormonal imbalance, you have to clean. And one of the big things is cleaning the liver. It's so important because over half of all the T4 is converted to T3 in the liver. That's the thyroid hormones. If that conversion is obstructed or compromised, your hormones are going to be out of sync. And for that matter, most estrogen is metabolized in the liver. If it's not metabolized, it just lingers and causes problems. So, that's why it's so important to have your liver functioning correctly and your GI tract, which is the largest endocrine organ. And hormones are secreted by the stomach, pancreas, small intestine. That's why the GI tract needs to be healthy. If you're not having 2 bowel movements a day, be aware that, if you're not able to eliminate properly and you have constipation or, gas or bloating or any type of GI issues, it can cause estrogen and leaky gut to be reabsorbed into the blood and all these phytoestrogens and all these endocrine disrupting chemicals. So, that's why I recommend, keeping your intestines clean on a regular basis, using oxy powder, a couple times a week, just keeping everything clean, using some good probiotics like the Primal Defense Ultra, the Lateral Flora. That's what I use. Then, solution number 2 is regular chemical and toxic metal cleansing, and that's getting rid of looking around, get rid of any mercury, lead, cadmium, aluminum, stuff like that. You have to continually clean the chemicals out of your body. If they're coming in, you have to get rid of them. I use Zeotrex for that. You can use whatever you want. It's a bunch of stuff on there, but these are the solutions. Solution number 3 is to increase your exercise, because naturally with exercise, when you sweat, well, actually weight training by itself increases adrenal hormones and the beta receptors in your gut fat, and that, when you rest and recover, all that is therapeutic. Chiropractic, massage, meditation, sauna, far infrared sauna is another way to eliminate toxic metals and chemicals from your body. So increasing your exercise and your body work, allowing your body to become natural and unstressed. Acupuncture also is a way to work on rebalancing your hormones through body work. Solution number 4 is decrease your stress. Now that's something that's just part of everybody's life. I mean, you could be stressed out just by sitting under fluorescent lighting. The way I deal with stress is meditation, and one of the best ways that I feel that reduces and calms a stressful situation is through meditation. Besides that, studies have shown that meditation dramatically boosts DHEA levels. And stress lowers melatonin. When you're stressed out, you're going to have lower melatonin levels. And people who meditate are able to maintain healthy levels of melatonin by reducing the stress and restoring balance. And they sleep better also. So deep meditation has been shown to dramatically boost levels of human growth hormone also, and serotonin. Cortisol is one of the hormones you want the less amounts of, and meditation has been proven to significantly decrease levels of cortisol. So I recommend about, starting off with 9 minutes twice a day meditation. You can go to the site, type in meditation. We have some techniques, some deep breathing techniques. You can go online, look at different meditation techniques online. But start at 9 minutes twice a day and then move up as much as you can. The next solution, number 5, is get restful sleep. I mean, I can't say that enough. Your body needs to heal when you sleep. That means not having a bunch of electronics around your bed, not having lights blinking when you sleep, a dark environment. That not sleeping is going to affect your hormones. It's going to negatively affect your hormones. Follicle-stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormones are among the hormones released during your sleep. Thyroid-stimulating hormone are released prior to sleep. Deep sleep has been shown to increase the release of human growth hormone. And even in 2011, a study found that infant growth spurts were associated with increased and consolidated sleep. This is directly a result of the increase of growth hormone during sleep. So sleep is extremely important. Next, solution number 6 is to eliminate the endocrine disrupting chemicals. That's pretty much everything that we talked about, but eating organic foods, fruits and vegetables, avoiding pesticides, avoiding soy, avoiding aspartame, artificial sweeteners, use non-toxic cookware. If you're drinking coffee, make sure that you switch to organic coffee, because 80% of the coffee worldwide is sprayed with toxic pesticides, which are endocrine disruptors. So if you go over there to your favorite coffee shop in the morning, you're getting endocrine disruptors in there through the milk and most likely through the coffee and the tap water that they use to make the coffee. Avoid GMOs. When you eat meat, make sure it's organic. Eat only range-free eggs. Avoid sugary and processed foods. Don't drink from aluminum cans. Don't eat canned foods. Limit your alcohol consumption. Cook with distilled or purified water. Don't microwave your food. Avoid containers and BPA. Avoid plastic, cutting boards and all that stuff, cutting utensils. Use bamboo, or you can use even ceramic knives these days. Use non-toxic detergent for your dishwasher, for your laundry detergent. Get rid of all your chemical fertilizers and herbicides and all that stuff in your garage. Look at all your cosmetics, body care products. Switch to organic, all natural, non-toxic, toxin-free. These are all hormone disruptors. Now, there are some natural supplements, too, depending on what your hormonal balance is stemming from. You might want to look at dietary supplements. I would recommend working with your natural health care practitioner, after you're looking at all the causes and eliminating all those. Most likely your hormones will balance anyway. But one of the things that I recommend for everybody, not even, people that are suffering from hormone deficiencies, is iodine. I just keep coming back to that and coming back to that. I suggest that you look at my iodine webinar that's out there, but without a doubt, it's going to play one of the biggest roles in maintaining balanced hormones. Your entire body needs iodine. Every single endocrine cell needs iodine. But it's really used heavily by 3 organs, which is your thyroid, your breast tissue, and your ovaries. Men also use iodine in their reproductive organs, prostate, testes, and stuff. So highly recommend you watch that. Some herbs you might want to check out that are effective at balancing hormones naturally: Tribulus terrestris, suma root, ashwagandha, maca or Peruvian ginseng, avena sativa, tonkat ali, wild yam, some of the cohoshes. Those herbs, the first thing always is to get rid of what's causing your hormone disrupting systems. Get rid of all of it. Second is to clean your body as best as you possibly can. Once you have all that done, then I would start looking into using or supplementing different using different hormone supplements. I use Androtrex, which contains a lot of these things. For males, look, there's nothing you can really do about it. Naturally, your hormones are going to decrease with age. Naturally, a woman's hormones are going to be altered during age. What can you do naturally to regulate some of that stuff? That's, cleansing, of course, but as long as your hormones, as long as you're in a natural state, that's what you want. We actually developed a product called Female Fusion, which works great for females, more or less, to help kind of balance out their hormones naturally. I said before that hormone replacement therapy, I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, you're just putting a Band-Aid over a problem. First of all, if your hormones are imbalanced, you need to get to the root cause of that imbalance, not just add more hormones, especially synthetic hormones, to the mix. And that is what bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is. It's just pharmaceutical hormones, which you don't even know where they're getting them from, with molecules that are the exact copies of human hormones. But any hormone you're taking from a pharmaceutical company has to be synthesized. And they might say it's the same thing, and synthetic hormones are similar, but they're not. And they tend to fit less precisely on your hormone receptors. And that's why you get the ugly side effects. You might have seen in the news lately that testosterone replacement therapy, is associated with heart problems, or menopausal hormone therapy has cancer risks. So if you're on HRT, it's imperative that your intestinal health is at the height of its game. So you can eliminate toxins, prevent the hormones from being reabsorbed in your gut, and also your probiotics are within balance. So that's pretty much all for today. Thank you all for sticking with me for a long seminar on hormone imbalance, how to balance your hormones naturally. Like I said, I'm going to post all this information for you. Here's the thing. There's so much information on hormone imbalance out there, and there's just no one's really took it all and put it into one big conglomerate. I'm actually writing a book on hormone imbalance and how to solve hormone imbalance naturally. That's going to be out, probably within a year. But I want to give you a lot of information, and feel free to give me information too. I mean, go on there and send me information, studies that you have that we can add to this. I'd like this for just to be one big resource of information that people can go to learn how to balance their hormones naturally, because we all need to do this to not only save ourselves, save the children, but to save the earth. I mean, this thing is huge. Animals are dying. We're losing 200 species a day, and a lot of it's due to these chemicals. So I hope everybody has a great day, and until next time, look around your house. Start today eliminating these toxic chemicals from your environment and start cleansing your body. Thanks again for listening. Take care.